All right, guys, Sam here with you. It's Monday, December 3rd here, middle of the day. We'll do a quick update on Bitcoin. Now, some interesting things here. I continue to look at this area down here. We've talked about it, God knows how many times. This we'll call it this $200 range here. This 3,000, even what was my structure? There's 2987 to 3,200. There's so much confluence down there. I kind of came back to this today looking at this price action. I continue to think that whatever we're doing, however we come back and count this, that we're finishing here. That this, from this pivot here, when was that? July 18th, that we're looking to finish here. Now, because I think this is a high probability target here. Now, is it the pivot low, or am I trying to call the bottom in Bitcoin? Yeah, actually I am. I'm a buyer here. I continue to say this is a place to look to be a buyer. All right, that's just me. Right? The idea is not to do what I do. Or just can we build a case here to be a buyer? All right. Well, so the obvious one, right, as we've shown here, let's take this off so we can recreate. The obvious one we've looked at 500 times. Right? It's just working from RB. Right. This continues to be where I think we're going and where I think we likely get a substantial bounce. Now, in addition to that, so before I get into that, so because I've got that wolf range on here, we'll look at that in a second. Looking at this count, how do we finish here? Now, I had been looking at this last couple of videos, thinking that we were doing a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we were going lower for the 5. I think there's a case here that, because I'm looking at this going, that means it can't finish here. Are we going to 2,200? Well, shit, we may be. I think there's a reasonable case that we could finish this. Now, it requires, this is a little bit out of the norms, right? So, the ABC here, very clear. I think you could make a case that we have A, B, C into a B, into a C here, to give us our X wave. Now, it means we have to allow for a shallow X. I get it, Elliott Purist. I'm with you. I don't see another count here that can get this resolved down here. I think this actually can play. So if I have it correctly identified, so big if I have this correctly identified here, and this is the pivot that sets us up to finish. Well, if this is the X wave, well, then we're trying to finish an ABC, which this plays better. Now, is that me smoking my own hopium pipe? Maybe looking for a way to finish down here. I just continue to think there's so much there. See, we've got this beautiful, beautiful structure here. So that was that right at, so we're sitting there, that's at 29, no, that's 3,036, at least here on GDAX. Coinbase Pro, pardon me. Not used to the new name yet. ABC. So we eliminate that problem. If this was 1, 2, the subdivision doesn't allow for it. So if this is AB, we can finish down here. So let's take a closer look at that. See, maybe I'm smoking my own hopium pipe. Could be. Won't change the fact that I'm a buyer down there. All right, so if that's the AB, well, then we can finish this down here because now the subdivision works. So if I look here, I continue to think this is a flat. So thus 1, A, B, C for the 2 in green here, trying to finish in green. So if this is the B, I'm trying to finish the C down here in 5, right? And that would finish the ABC, the second ABC of the WXY. Well, 1, 2, all right, so we can just start using those same tools that we were trying to use to predict where we might look for our third. All right, well, here's the third right here. Now, 2618, that's an extreme. All the subdivision potentially there for the third. Now, we don't quite make the 2618 before we start the proposed 4. It doesn't have to get there. Here's your high probability zone. We've blown so far through that. I think the subdivision works here to where you can get that third. So then, if this is the third, we've got to get an impulse in there. That plays. Here's the little ABC. Well, let me open this up a little more so we can see it a little better. Okay, so if that's right, this is 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We finish with the extension in the 5th to give us the low of the third. Very clear ABC. All right, so now it would appear if that's correctly identified, right? Note right to the goal, right to the Vegas wave. Right? Don't forget that. Right? It's always a great tell. So ABC to the pivot here, where we have a contender for the 4. Right? But now, of course, very shallow 4, but relative to the 2, right? Where's my 2's way back here? Let's see. I think we are right. So here's the ABC that completes the flat. Right? So there's the 2. If we go 2, shit, I can't even get there. If we go 2 to 3, right? Well, we made the 23. Right, here's prime zone for the 4. Nice little ABC. Well, what does that mean? Well, right now, we got a couple of different scenarios here. If the 4 is in, then we've just done 1, 2, and we're putting in the 3. There's also the possibility that we are in the midst of some larger 4. Right, so meaning that this could just be an AB. So we could have another flat. We could have a 3, 3, 5, and get our 4 over here. Right, if we're going to go to the 38. Right, that potentially could play here. That would still set us up to finish down here at one of these in this range between, we'll call it 3,200 and 3,000. In that range. All of this potentially now can play over here if we don't break down here and we don't end up with 5. If this is just going to be another ABC, well, it sets up the flat. Now, there's no way to know just yet. But if if the count is in here at the 4, well, then we're just putting in the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are still yet to come. Now, that would set us up, potentially could be finishing here. So we've got to consider both alternates. Right, each one of us have us finishing in this box down here, which I like to call them a hot box, where I'm looking for a reaction down here. So if this is 3, 4, and we're just doing 1, 2, well, again, how are we going to know? Well, we go to the 1 hour. Can you get 5 out of this? Well, you've got to allow for the double bottom down here. If that 1 is in, if this is 1, 2, 3, well, you dig in a 1 out of that. Pardon me, a 5. It's a bit of a conundrum, right? So hard, you'd have to be down to maybe the 5 minute to get 5 out of that. So I'm a little hesitant to say, well, 1's in, 2's in. It's technical, it's deep for the 2, but we stay internal and get that tightened up here. All right. So we know a 2 can go to the 786, right? Can go beyond it, right? So we just can't go beyond that pivot. So if that's correctly identified as a 1, 2, so you get the nice little ABC, and if we're coming down, then so if that's an ABC, that means we got to have an impulse here. Well, pardon me, we don't have to have an impulse. We could finish with a diagonal. But 1, if that is 1 and that's 2, well, it looks like you may have. Let's take that up a degree here. So if we're trying to pick this apart here. Let's say, okay, what's wrong with this count, right? First assumption always is assume you're wrong. So what's wrong with it? Where is this account weak? Or where is this count weak? Well, I don't love that as the 5. So what's the alternate? A, B, C. That's possible here. So we'd have a little A, B, C here. So we could have A, B. Well, it's just ugly no matter how you slice it here to try and finish anything here. So double bottom. Well, that's what we can see. Sums, it's either A, B, C. That plays. So that means we potentially now going into a diagonal. All right. So how are we going to quantify and qualify that? Well, if this is a 1 and we're in a diagonal, and this is just going to go A, B, C, A, B, C. Well, then you're thinking, well, A, B, oh, shit, look what we just pivot on. Now, you look at that and you go, why? Why do we pivot here? That's good. It's a good question, right? We've gone too far. Are they? It's hard to know, right? What are they using? So we're always trying to make our best analysis to see what an algo did last. Well, that's likely not coincidental that we're sitting here right at a 23.6. Was it something in here? Could have been. So how do we know? How are we going to qualify this? Well, it's very hard to know down here at this level. Right now, why fight the trend? Right? So the trend remains down. So, and whatever we're doing, we're still not done. That I think we can all shit, anything's possible, but if we're looking at the probable path, this looks less like something that's completed, right? Because this certainly doesn't look impulsive. Now, best case, this is some sort of a complex correction still going in. So again, back to that possibility that's just an A and a B going in. So we're going to know. So first tells will be how far do we go here? So if that's a 1, whether we're in a diagonal or not, some of this will be a function of where we go here. So have we gotten to the 100? We don't even have 100, the length of the 1. Or if we're going to finish with a diagonal, you know, either of these are possible. We just have to see where this is going to go. It's hard to get much confidence in this count as we sit here. Now, I prefer not to go below the hourly on a count at this degree. I just think it's too squirrely down there. So until I get more clarity as to where this is going, I'm reluctant to do anything other than just kind of let it play and look for more tells from the market. So I don't see a trade here. I think that's, well, you know, so you don't have an algo working with you, or so swing low, swing high. So we've already broken the 65. I certainly don't like it enough to be a buyer at this point. Now we get down here, that's a different story, because then I can build the case that we finished. So even here on a 60-minute, well, of course we look at possibly some median lines to help guide us here. Kind of skinny on that. Well, when you have these doubles, you kind of got to check both of them here. I always defer to the outside. What's the most obvious here? That this would be the outside. This is internal to that. So we know we've got 80% odds if that pivot holds. So as long as we hold here, we've got a corner pocket. It's deep, right? Deep for a 2, but that 3, just as we did it, right? So we're looking for, so if we think algo targets, this being past that. So if this is 1, 2, 3, well, this could be too steep here. We're going to get here abruptly. We might, right? Again, looking at just the swing relationships. If we were to hit the median line, where would that put us if we hit it? Right here. Well, here's the 1618. Possible 1, 2. So it doesn't look impulsive yet. We don't have enough. 1, 2. 1, 2, it's hard to say. It looks more like it's taking a diagonal structure. If now we're not at 100, that's pretty close. It looks more to me like we're doing something like that. Like this looks A, B, C. We don't have enough structure to it yet. So why roll the dice on this, right? You're forcing a trade there. There's no reason to be now. If you're scalping out stuff on the 5-minute, but that's not what I'm trying to show you here. I'm not saying don't trade it. I'm just saying if you're looking for the longer term analysis here as to where the next opportunity to be a buyer is, well, I mean, the more reasonable and conservative way to approach it is let's get to one of these targets and then wait, let's get a motive wave coming off of it and take the first retrace. Looking for that. Now, you know clearly where your low is. So you got to decide if you're a buyer down here, what are you trying to do? Is this a long-term investment or are you just looking for a trade? Right? For me, this would be long-term. Right? And I would continue. This looks, right? You know, if you like it at 3,200, you're going to love it at, you know, underneath that, right? So wherever we go down here, it's just going to be a function of can we construct all the ingredients to give us a technical pivot down here. Right now, I don't see anything to suggest it's time to be a buyer. Much as I'd love to tell you, low is in. I see no way to reconcile this off of this pivot down here. All right, now, I'd love to be wrong. Love to be wrong, but I just don't see it. I think more down until we get to, at the very minimum, this long-term algo target that's been there since February. Right, that 3,200, 31 and change, anywhere in this little window here certainly looks. Well, I wouldn't bet against it. How about we say it that way, right? So here's the corner pocket, right? So this will be key if this holds. As long as that holds, if we're going to continue to head lower, now it's just going to be a function of how long does it take. If it takes longer, then we might go to a modifier. Right now, this just looks like just a little retracement on our way here, searching out for that third. Right, median line. Well, we don't know yet. So I'd be cautious down here. That's so close. It'd be interesting to see if we hit 100 on any other exchanges. But my suggestion is if it doesn't hit on all, you can't cherry pick the exchange to accommodate your count. I'd be cautious here. So if anything, all this is doing is setting up the 4-5. So if we do come down here at one of these pivots and we get something technical, and I know I just moved that. If we get something technical down here, looks to me like all we're doing is setting up the 4 to the 5. So if you're comfortable as a short seller in crypto, that's the next trade I would propose to you, is trading the 4 to the 5. Now potentially that sets us up to finish the whole thing. I mean, but I just don't see it yet, right? I'd love to be wrong, as I said, but I just don't see it yet. So trying to put that all back together. The only other thing that was, well, I don't want log scale, that was here that I thought was worth noting here, which I had on there briefly, was that if we just look at our range, let's go to, where was I, 8 hour? Yeah, so if we look at this range here that we established over the summer, this range here, right? If this is the 1 and this is the 2, well, look how we're past the one, we're past the negative 1618. So we're a long way down here. As I showed it, we're at the 2618. So we're looking for what I was going to put on here was the wolf range. So where is it? Is this it? Is this the range that we're doubling? So it's just range expansion. Right? It's just that's how we identify it here. Is this the range expansion? Well, look where that puts that. Right, one more, so let me wiggle it so you can see it. Here, right here. So if that's the range expansion, it's just one more cluster down here to give us this range down here and these targets. So all we're doing, here's the range down, here's the 50, minus 100. An exact doubling of that range right on top of that long-term out. We can see it right here, right on top of the long-term algo target. That would finish with the count. So if I just blow it up again so you can see it, that all plays rather nicely for this 5-wave structure to finish down here. We don't know where this is because we don't have the 3 yet or the 4. So just trying to lay out the roadmap. Where could it be going? Right, here's the exact 100% range expansion at 32.45. Here's the algo target 31.37. So if I was really trying to pinpoint it, I'd put it like that. So you got about $200 range down here looking for the pivot low. All right, there it is. I called it. There's the low. That's what I'm going with. That's where I start buying or adding, as the case may be, depending on what your position is in the market. I start there, right? And I'll look long and hard. If it's going to break below that, well, there's some other targets down there. All right, guys, that's probably enough there. That's what I see. That's how I'm approaching it. Very interested to see it. Do we get there? Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch, right? But right now, unless you're comfortable with that short from the 4 to the 5, I see no reason to be a buyer down here, right? Now, I hope tomorrow or later this week I'm eating those words. All right, guys, that's it for now. I'll be back, looks like one more today. Back to